Rob Lolly Show. The news. 86. The statist media lies.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Brock Lolly program. My name is Brock Lolly. I am your fearless host. This is a segment we tackle in these headlines, sifting out the media alphabet soup Democrat Party. Sorry for the redundancy. Lies, like the chaff that it is, from the golden wheat of truth. Let's dive into the story, shall we? Crowds line up for the Trump.
We need strength, we need energy, we need quickness, and we need brain in this country to turn it around.
Oh, it is so enjoyable to see the media and the establishment and all these empty seat goons scratching their head in bewilderment. They just can't understand it. Here it is, in a line, in a nutshell. Ready? There is so much anger at the political class in this country. There is no way to poll or quantify or do a study to plumb its depths. That's how much frustration and anger there is. Thus, Trump. The other thing is the world has changed and Trump speaks the new language, which is theatrical, reality television show, boisterous, millennial, flashy, huge. You know, he doesn't play by these sort of Washington, D.C. parameters. He's way off the reservation, and I think that can't even be overstated and probably hasn't really been explored enough in pursuit of an explanation for this. Trump is a timely character on the political stage for so many reasons, because he's wealthy, because he's famous, because he's an egomaniac, because he doesn't play by the political correct rules. And it's sort of a perfect storm, isn't it? I mean, think of why you're so frustrated with politicians, and think of why you don't believe anything, and think of why the system's corrupt. Your hope even of a half-decent human being has all but drifted away. And so the fact that Trump might not be squeaky clean, you might even doubt his motives, the reason that doesn't derail him, I think, is because think about what is usually an impediment to what you want to see in a human being running for office, right? He usually needs money. And because he needs money, he usually has to whore himself out to whoever can sign the check. And you just sort of know that, right? You know that because they don't give you straight answers on certain things, or you'll wander into these certain spheres of problems in our society, and all of a sudden this guy goes linguini spine and he doesn't want to speak honestly or candid about that. But then he'll wander into other areas and he'll be like a flamethrower and so on and so forth. You just sort of can take the temperature of a candidate in that sense. So he's bought off. He or she's bought off. They're also just afraid of everything, right? They're afraid of what the media is going to do to them. They're afraid of whether the establishment class is going to back them up, because all these cats know the game. They all know how to tap dance. And you also see that, they have these little bullet points in their head. They're afraid to say the wrong statement for fear that somehow they're going to alienate this group of people or that group of people, or carve everybody up in their head. And so as a result, they walk on eggshells and they become very disingenuous, and their humanity is sort of robotic. Trump is just an alternative to all of that. And he's a unique character because a lot of things came together. He has the fame. He has the reality television show background. So he knows how to speak millennial, if you will. He knows how to speak lowest common denominator. And unfortunately, that's really where we're at. He doesn't care really about what anybody cares about him except for what Trump cares about him, which in a strange way is refreshing. Even though you have a sense that it's not exactly character solid, there's just things like this about this guy that I don't think people are really thinking enough about. People say, well, Trump isn't a politician. Well, we hate politicians. Trump isn't polished. Well, we hate polished. Trump doesn't know the Washington game. He doesn't know this or that. All those things just work in his favor. So everybody's trying to use, the wrong yardstick to measure Donald Trump. They need to throw out the map, throw out the blueprint, throw out the yesterday's assessment of things and look at it with a whole new set of eyes, specifically if you want a chance of cutting into his candidacy. And I think America welcomes the flavor that he's bringing, even if maybe they don't even welcome him. They really welcome the flavor that he's bringing to politics. That piece in the dailymail.co.uk, again, Donald Trump drawing huge, massive Justin Bieber-like crowds. Go ahead and read all about it. Jeb takes some shots at Hillary, as if one needs to do that, as Hillary literally implodes, looking like Hillary might be heading into the paddy wagon rather than the White House. And now we found top secret information on this woman's server. It's like various levels of Dante evil. And Bernie Sanders, by the way, edging her out in the polls in the Northeast. Jeb Bush taking some shots. People like the speech. New York Times has it. This is an interesting story, not so political. This piece, independent.co.uk, so this is a British paper. Men feel relationship breakups more than women over the long term, that is, according to this piece. The study actually suggests that men and women are different, so that's a plus in this gender blurring society that we live in. My experience is that men love huge, like, cinema style love. The kind of love that women like to read about in pool porn magazines. They do that once. Really big. It's all in, push all the emotional chips into the center of the poker table kind of love. Once. And generally they do that young and they get burnt. Now I'm not saying that this doesn't correlate into the female realm. I can't speak as intelligently to that, obviously. But I think women are more likely to do that over and over and over again. But men don't. Men get burnt. They get hurt. In fact, I think when you meet a real disaster of a man by way of just a wrecking ball, basically laying waste emotionally in his wake, broken hearts and destruction, I think you're looking at a man who once loved and got burnt by a woman. So there it is. Fascinating piece. Again, independent.co.uk. Men feel relationship breakups more than women over the long term. Fascinating. The evil EPA's CO2 plan, wait for it, punishes red states. Now, is this a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen, do you think? Or do you think, once again, the federal government targeting its political opponents? Why the EPA isn't gutted immediately, specifically after the latest, one will never know, but one more arm of this federal government targeting people and states and leaders and economies that don't lockstep with their fanatical, socialist, hellish, statist, authoritarian views. So it's the VA, and then it's the IRS, and then it's the Justice Department, and then it's EPA, until it's the entire federal government, like something out of a frightening Orwell novel. Read about it in nationalreview.com. Again, EPA targeting red states. Disgusting. I got to tell you, I took great pleasure in reading about this next story. MSNBC reboots, ladies and gentlemen. More news, supposedly. And Brian Williams is back. He's going to take the anchor chair. He's going to try to pull him out of the slum. Ed Schultz, by the way, gone. Red slip. You're fired, Ed Schultz. You're fired.
This right-wing slut, what's her name, Laura Ingraham?
Now, who would have thunk that people don't want to listen to a clown like that on television? Who, by the way, looks like a bus driver who's 3 beers in, 9 a.m. in the morning. This is MSNBC's programming, and what do you know? The ratings circling the toilet bowl that is their programming. So, they have decided to reboot, ladies and gentlemen. Reboot! And it's going to be news now. It's going to be serious news. And who are they going to have to anchor it? Well, a guy who, let's just say he did a little padding of his resume of late. I loved these memes with Brian Williams, by the way. It'd be like anything cool that had ever happened in the history of man, somebody would just Photoshop Brian Williams' face in there. And I was there. Yes, I was. I was there on D-Day. I was there at the signing of the Declaration of Independence. I was there during the Civil Rights marches. I was there. Brian Williams was there to report factual, tan, good hair news to the American people. Well, anyway, MSNBC going to try to pull their ratings out of the gutter. I wish them well. That place is a cesspool. Perhaps you don't believe me. Well, here's a little taste. I'm going to give you some more MSNBC golden highlights.
Sarah Palin scraping the barrel of her long-deceased mind as a world-class idiot. So here's an example. S-H-I-T, Sarah Palin, piss Sarah Palin. I could go on. If anyone truly qualified for a dose of discipline, piss S-H-I-T. she would be the outstanding candidate.
Yeah, my favorite thing is then these hosts lecture people on hot rhetorical language, divisive language, mean language. I'm not kidding. Oh, no, I'm not kidding. They actually have the audacity to lecture. Anyway, there it is. MSNBC trying to wise up. I think the fact that most middle school plays in your local communities get bigger audiences than primetime on MSNBC. I'm telling you, television's dead, print's dead. It's only a matter of time. It's a slow bleed, the new media. This podcast, for example, is killing them with 1,000 cuts of authentic truth. We're bringing that whale of statist whopper down, ladies and gentlemen. Down. Call me Ishmael. Anyway, if you want to read more about this, if you want to celebrate, for example, if you want to rejoice, Wall Street Journal has a fabulous piece. Again, MSNBC reboots. Everything on the left is projection, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely everything. I evidence you. Paul Krugman in the New York Times. This is krugmanblogs.newyorktimes.com. All I'm going to tell you is read this. He entitled it Tea and Trumpism. I read this whole thing, and I don't think there is a single sentence in this piece that isn't filled with personal attack, hate-filled personal attack. Not one point, not one substantive comment, just constant attack of human beings that this guy doesn't agree with. It's the most elementary thing you can possibly read, and you got Upper East Siders salivating. Oh, Krugman. Oh, what an IQ. What a smart individual. Unlike all those Fox News reporters, Krugman. Such a high, lofty, highbrow. I bet he never drank Merlot. I bet it's always some import. Oh, I just love me some Krugman. Read this. All I'm going to do is ask you to read it. And then I'm going to ask you this simple question for your own intellectual honesty to tackle. Who is filled with hate? Moving on. No more illegal aliens in California, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Well, the left waved their speech code wand over the whole scenario. And now all the illegal aliens went away because we're not allowed to say alien, ladies and gentlemen. It's been stripped from California. Word bans from Jerry Brown. And you would think if you were, I don't know, $500 billion in debt as a state, you would find more constructive things to do other than ban words in a free country. But there it is. California never ceases to amaze. LA Times has the piece if you choose to read about it. In more white-out history from the Democratic Party, Democrats decide to erase Thomas Jefferson from their past. The Democrats love doing this. All the pockmarks on their past, or at least the perceived pockmarks. I think Jefferson was a giant. But Jefferson owned slaves several hundred years ago. The New York Times editorial, they think that he should have been green and smoking clove cigarettes and driving e-cars back in the 1700s. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the Democrats are choosing to erase Andrew Jackson as well. It's unbelievable. I mean, it really is, again, New York Times. You know, the civil rights era, the fact that the Democrats were MIA during the civil rights era, the fact that the Democrats were Jim Crow, the fact that the Democrats were enslaving people, all this stuff, they just rewrite it all. Why? Because who's going to call them out on it? The news? The MSNBC reboot with Brian Williams. Heck, Brian Williams was probably at the signing of the Declaration of Independence. He would know. What a joke this party is. Unbelievable. And lastly, ladies, a fascinating piece in The Atlantic. The childlike college mind. I have been harping on this for a really, really long time. We are subsidizing institutions of lower learning. Basically, here's what's going on. Recently, driven by students, leftist propagandized students, they've decided to scrub clean campuses of ideas, subjects, words that, quote, might cause discomfort or give offense. Last December, Jenny Suck wrote an online article for The New Yorker about law students asking their professors at Harvard to not teach rape law, or, in one case, even use the word violate, as in, that violates the law. Let students be caused distress, ladies and gentlemen, and need to run to padded rooms or suck on one's finger in the fetal position like a child. I'm not making this up. This is the type of intellect, this is the type of human being that these universities are producing. And the worst part about this is their parents are taking out 3 or 4 mortgages on their house to pay